I reminisce for a spell, or shall I say think back 22 years ago to keep it on track. The birth of a child on the 8th of October, a toast, but my granddaddy came sober. Count all the fingers and the toes, now I suppose you hope the little black boy grows. 18 years younger than my mama, but I really got beatings cause the girl loved drama. In single parenthood, there I stood. By the time she was 21, had another one. This one's a girl, let's name her Pam. Same father as the first, but you don't give a damn. Irresponsible, plain not thinking. Papa said chill, but the brother keep winking. Still he won't down you or tear out your hide. On your side while the baby make a slide. But mama got wise to the game. The youngest of 5 kids, hun, here it is. After 10 years without no spouse, mama's getting married in the house. Listen, positive over negative for the woman a master. Mother queens rise in the chapter. Deja vu, tell you what I'm gonna do when they reminisce over you, my God. When I date back, I recall a man off the family tree. My right hand, Papa Doc, I see. Took me from a boy to a man, so I always had a father when my biological didn't bother. Taking care of this, so who am I to bicker? Not a bad ticker, but I'm clocking Pop's liver. But you can never say that his life is through. 5 kids at 21, believe he got a right to. Here we go while I check the scene with the Portuguese lover at the age of 14. The same age, front page, no fuss, but I bet you all you know they live longer than us. Never been seen now, that's where you're wrong. But give the man a taste and he's gone. Nodding off sleep to a jazz tune. I can hear his head banging on the wall in the next room. I get the pillow and hope I don't wake him. For this man to cuss, hear it all in verbatim. Telling me how to raise my boy unless he's taking over. I said, Pop, maybe when you're older. We laughed all night about the hookers at the party. My old man standing yelling, good God Almighty. Use your condom, take sips of the brew. When they reminisce over you, for real.
For real, baby. Like that. We for real. Coming at ya. In 92. Rock and CL Smooth. Yeah. Come on.
I reminisce so you never forget this. The days are way back, so many bear witness the fitness. Take the first letter out of each word in this joint. Listen close as I prove my point. T to the R-O-Y, how did you and I meet in front of Big Lou's fighting in the street? But only you saw what took many time to see. I dedicate this to you for believing in me. Rain or shine, yes in any weather. My grandma Pam holds the family together. My Uncle Doc's the greatest, better get the latest. If we're talking about a car, Uncle Sterling got the latest. I strive to be live cause I got no choice. And run my own business like my Aunt Joyce. So Pete Rock hit me, enough respect due. When they reminisce over you, listen.
Listen. Just listen to the funky songs as I rock on, and that's word is born. I'm not playing, everybody just coolin'. This song we dedicate to the one and only. Never be another. He was my brother.
I had a couple people contact me saying that there's just no way that Joshua Lederberg is connected enough to have been considered to be any sort of handler or advisor to Epstein. To which I responded, both of them, bullshit. And if you haven't watched my programs by now and think otherwise and still don't believe this, I don't know what to tell you. You're watching the wrong program. Just stop contacting me. I don't have a whole lot of patience for this. And I started to draw it out. And my writing isn't, I didn't draw this because I meant to show it to you. I actually meant to just, I wanted to actually just sketch it out so that you do your first sketch, right? And then you go, okay, like if you wanted to like map out, lay out new furniture in your room, you don't start off with a really super clear, highly detailed drawing. You just kind of sketch like, couch, chair, lamp, where the bookshelf go, where's the dog bed going to be. You just kind of, sketch it out. And then once you get some general ideas, you scribble, you cross things out, you draw some new things. Then you're like, okay, I think I got a good idea. Now let's work on some details. So, and I just started, and I just kept going and going and going. And, I mean, it starts off with he was one of the best friends of the Sackler family. Of course, Sackler is OxyContin, Purdue Pharma. He was the advisor. He was the science advisor for Bill Clinton when Bill Clinton needed to learn about genetics and biological weapons, and Bill Clinton worked directly with Joshua Lederberg, probably one of the most the forefather, the godfather of advances in computing relating to how it's going to be used for genomics. Arthur Kornberg at Stanford, he worked directly with Lederberg. Carl Sagan was effectively mentored by Lederberg because Lederberg ran the NASA space program for understanding extraterrestrial life, and in fact even coined the term exobiology. When it came to Leo Szilard, and it was the Szilard-Einstein who wrote the letter that went to FDR regarding the Manhattan Project, Lederberg was for a short time mentored by Leo Szilard, and I believe Lederberg thought that Szilard probably was an idiot because Szilard basically learned science from a science fiction writer. But I don't know that for sure. I'm just kind of speculating there. The person who developed the PCR technology, Kary Mullis, said, and Kary Mullis has said in his own 1990 document, that if it wasn't for the chief science officer and the head board member of the company he was at, Cetus Corporation, who was, by the way, Joshua Lederberg, basically the first science officer of the first biotechnology company that ever existed, Kary Mullis said that no one would ever know who he was. And it's true. Lederberg basically found Kary Mullis and said, you have an interesting idea, but it could be used for this application. So the idea of how to use it really came from Lederberg. Henry Kissinger worked side by side with Joshua Lederberg for 7 presidential administrations, with Lederberg heading the biotechnology stuff. Andrew Marshall, the head of the Office of Technology Assessment, the OTA, that was no, it's not the OTA. It was the defense. It'll come back to me later. But one of the most important defense sub-agencies that very few people know about, Threat Assessment Group. It was run by Andrew Marshall, and Andrew Marshall met extensively with Joshua Lederberg. JFK received advisement from Joshua Lederberg. Ronald Reagan considered Joshua Lederberg to be his main advisor when it came to genetics and biological warfare. Margaret Thatcher worked with Joshua Lederberg. Aldous Huxley worked with Joshua Lederberg. Richard Nixon worked with Joshua Lederberg. Dick Cheney worked with Joshua Lederberg. Joshua Lederberg was one of the main board members of, I always get Procter & Gamble and Perkin-Elmer mixed up, but the one that he was with, he got Cheney on the board. Hillary Kaprowski worked with Joshua Lederberg. Condoleezza Rice was a student of Joshua Lederberg. How many people know that? Almost nobody knows that. David Hamburg, who went on to, basically run nuclear weapon disarmament, and the megawatts efforts, directly working with Mikhail Gorbachev. David Hamburg was one of Joshua Lederberg's best friends. David Hamburg's daughter, Margaret Hamburg, who went on to run the FDA. Margaret Hamburg was also mentored by Joshua Lederberg. Margaret Hamburg's entrance letter to Duke University was written by Joshua Lederberg. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency that Robert Malone and a bunch of other people worked was supposedly inspired by the New Luger program, which in turn was started by David Hamburg. Donald Rumsfeld appointed Joshua Lederberg, a bacteriologist, after September 11th, 2001, to run the internal investigations in the Pentagon as to what could be done better. John Asher Wolf, the main paper of Robert Malone's work, was the person that Joshua Lederberg sought out to write a book on the history of genetic medicine and gene therapy. Sidney Brenner, the person who effectively discovered mRNA. trusted Lederberg as much as anyone else in the world. Max Delbruck worked with Joshua Lederberg. The head of John D. Rockefeller III was one of the top confidants of Joshua Lederberg. John D. Rockefeller III made Joshua Lederberg the head of the Rockefeller Institute for 12 years, during which time supposedly Jeffrey Epstein, somehow met him without actually bumping into Joshua Lederberg, who was the president of the Institute. Esther Lederberg, who got onto the cover of Time magazine, she married him for a while. Max Delbruck, Salvador Luria, and then, of course, there's that whole thing called the One Health Initiative. And Ella Shope, father was Robert or Richard Shope, the One Health Initiative, One World, One Health. They co-wrote book. He co-wrote 2 books with Joshua Lederberg. And there's more. I can't even read all my handwriting here. And after all that, could you find me one other person in the history of the United States of America who is more connected, who has had more impact, who has worked with more companies and been involved in more national security efforts than Joshua Lederberg? As a matter of fact, I could not think of a single other person in the history of the United States of the last 100 years who would be more connected than Lederberg. So the statement that Jeffrey Epstein was steered for a while, I think after 9/11, something happened. I think Jeffrey Epstein, they never mentioned Lederberg again after that. The fact that Joshua Lederberg was referenced so extensively in the book Germs, which was published on September 9th, 2001, and then he kind of disappeared after that. As a matter of fact, I'm also going to highlight something really odd. Joshua Lederberg died at age 82 in the year 2008 of pneumonia. Now, if you look at him, he wasn't exactly the picture of perfect health. He wasn't that tall. He was overweight, sometimes a little bit too much from time to time. But I have a hard time believing that he died at age 82 of pneumonia. But he did die basically almost right before the market meltdown in 2008 of the subprime mortgage, which may not sound related, but now we are into the banking in the Jeffrey Epstein territory. I wonder if I don't know. It's just something about Lederberg's death never sat right with me. But when you see about the possibility that there's some choreography there also with Epstein's arrest and the 2008 market meltdown and a lot of other weird things that happened in 2008 that have been kind of swept under the carpet. And I'm going to be going more, unfortunately, I'm going to backtrack on something I said a few days ago. But I'm only backtracking on it right now because I feel it, because, I'm open to changing my mind on things. A lot of noise is being made right now about the Les Wexner Jeffrey Epstein relationship. It was arranged by Lederberg. That's how it came to happen. Battelle is the largest nonprofit technology. I think they're the largest nonprofit technology company in the world that works for the government, and they're in Columbus, Ohio. In other words, there's been a extensive collaboration. I think most of it's been undocumented between Joshua Lederberg and the needs of Battelle Corporation for the purposes of the Human Genome Project, computing, space exploration, extraterrestrial, life detection, and other matters. It would make sense that Lederberg would have found a large, wealthy benefactor in the Columbus, Ohio area to ensure that Battelle got the resources that it needed. Unfortunately, right now, this whole thing is being whitewashed as it was just Epstein and pedophilia. Unfortunately, Victoria's Secrets is involved, but again, Victoria's Secrets was founded in Stamford, basically almost right down the street from where Joshua Lederberg was living. Here's the problem. No matter how hard this Epstein narrative is being driven to cut Lederberg out, at every single opportunity, you wind up seeing Lederberg again. And I have to admit, you reach a point, you go out and you know you're in an unexplored area, and you just take a few steps off the street. You feel safe because you can see the road, you can see your car, you wave hi to your family. You just want to explore a little bit, and you're walking further and further, and eventually you're over the hill. You can't even see the car anymore. You're out of cell phone range, but you need to keep walking. No one's following me yet. I'm in the middle of nowhere here. I mean, it got Jonathan Cooey. That's cool. We can play Frisbee, but that's about it. No one else has come to this area yet, but I know this is exactly where it is. I know it. It's just absolutely insane. For the last 6-7 years of my life, I've been drawing diagrams of connections. Bill Patrick III, I have never ever made a map of someone that's so well connected. And this is actually not even all of it. This is just some of it. This is just what's public. And as I said before, there's a difference between a connection and a meaningful connection. Mailing someone in the middle of the night, inviting them over to a party where there's going to be some lingerie, that's not a meaningful connection. Sorry, it's not. Having a long-term relationship with somebody over decades is a meaningful connection. And when it comes to Joshua Lederberg, it is a rich, it's endless. And there's a reason why there's a blackout. No one is allowed to talk about him. No one's allowed to talk about him. Whitney Webb accidentally said his name once, and I think she regrets it. It's supposed to be a total blackout because it throws everything off. It throws off the whole Epstein mythology is destroyed when you realize how important Joshua Lederberg was. All of it. The whole, Battel's just doing this to sell technology to military companies to kill people and secure resources. All of these narratives are just collapse and vanish. They turn to dust and blow away when you realize how central Joshua Lederberg is to this. Good actor, bad actor, that I think people miss the point when they are trying to reduce history to that. Big things happen. I respect and admire Joshua Lederberg because I see him as an adult. Things that he said were not all true. He told all kinds of stupid mythologies about pandemics and the risks of microbes on spacecraft or whatever. That's the wrong way to look at it. I think he's the adult that could make brutally tough decisions, though, which can be a little scary and intimidating, I guess. In fact, it is. But what is a little scary right now, though, is we don't have many people like that left right now. We have a lot of weak people in government. We have a lot of weak people in business. We have a lot of weak people podcasting and claiming to have knowledge, expertise, and claiming to save people. We have weakness all over the place. Shocking levels of weakness. And not many adults. And I think that this is, as someone asked me a really good question earlier. I don't know if in the chat right now, I'm going to cut this one short. The question was, what was in it for Lederberg? And I think Lederberg wasn't doing it for himself. Now, altruistic, I don't know, but he's thinking at a different level. I'm not saying it's selfless, but, this is what he's doing, okay? He's thinking at a very different level. And I think what was in it for Lederberg was he didn't trust the next generation of spoiled weaklings. I think that is what hit him. He was seeing more and more entitled, spoiled weaklings coming into the laboratories, coming into business, coming into media. And my gut feeling is that when he talked to military personnel, even if they didn't really understand what he was talking about, he felt as though he was communicating with people who really were willing to, if duty called, die for it. I think that is why, as this book well documents, the military fell in love with Lederberg, and he respected them in kind. I think that was more important to him than this intellectual elitism that we see right now today. Oh, there's so-and-so is so great. I'm like the Jessica Rose. Could you imagine? I think Joshua Lederberg would have died from rolling his eyeballs too hard if he heard Jessica Rose saying, I'm an expert in computational biology and microbiology and nanotechnology and computing technology and micro-nano computing technology and this type of technology and physiological technology and mathematical computing technology and microbiology. His eyeballs would have rolled back so far, it would have ripped the sockets and he would have died from blood gushing out of his head. That's why Joshua Lederberg went the way he did. I could see it. I could totally see it. I can't prove it right now, but I can see it. Thanks for listening. And this song I'm playing is from, of course, this is from the soundtrack of Buffalo Soldiers. Come on. What? Sometimes the mouse gets a little bit too fidgety. Do I even need music on the way out? I don't need music on the way out. I think I made my point. I think one of the ways that we can save America is by highlighting the grown-ups in our country. And I'm not putting these people on the pedestal next to God, but I think that there are some people who are very strong people that that we need to show some thanks to every once in a while. They're flawed just like we were, but there are some real powerhouses that made this country, and this is why this country is worth saving and worth fighting for. And we can't let the liars and the deceivers and the weaklings who are podcasting right now say that it's all but over. It's not even worth saving. Everything's going to crash. The whole country was based upon mythology. No. I don't believe that. And if there's anything I can do as a show of thanks in the memory of Joshua Lederberg, it would be if we're gonna die fighting, if the country's gonna die, we're gonna go down fighting. And I think that would make him proud. And I'm proud to have some of you guys in this fight with me. So it's a weird show, I know, but I just had to respond to those two people who reached out to me today. So, and I know that I think that they were both intending to rattle me, but sorry, you just motivated me. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very much. Take care, and God bless.